I've been having a lot of fun thinking about the dream, and there's been like, I just want to shout out a couple people. One person is someone who goes by the name Joe Magician, who runs the Wiki of Ice and Fire. We met him at Con of Thrones. Great guy. He has been on this beat for years, so he's got like a long bench, deep bench is what I meant, of how did the dream affect the Targaryen Kings videos that you can go check out. There's this blog called Red Mice at Play that has a great article up this week called The Song Played and the Dragons Danced, which is all about how the various Targaryen kings and queens reacted to the news of winter. And that's a really fun thing to track. Is like every time we already talked about Rhaegar last week, but every time a winter came, how did someone react? How did they freak out? How did they think, this is it, it's coming right now, all that sort of stuff. And I think what's really interesting about this concept of this prophecy, we quibbled a little bit with this idea that like Viserys' interpretation is that a Targaryen must sit on the throne. What's key to remember is that the Iron Throne wasn't a thing when Aegon had this dream, right? So it couldn't have been the dream is a Targaryen sits on the throne. It's a Targaryen must do something. And I think the idea is that Aegon interprets this as conquer. I must conquer Westeros, and that's what I must do to bring everyone together. But if the better definition is unite Westeros against this encroaching threat, then isn't that exactly what Jon and Daenerys did? They didn't sit the Iron Throne, but like Jon brings the wildlings and the Northern Lords, and Daenerys brings the Dothraki and the Unsullied, and they unite all these common cause against the Night King and the Whites and all that sort of like. So in a sense, that is a fulfillment of the prophecy. I just want to shout out one Targaryen in particular, which is Queen Alysanne, who I mentioned last week. And a lot of people thought I said Alicent, but I said Alysanne. Queen Alysanne, who was Jaehaerys' wife, has pretty much the only reasonable reaction to the prophecy. Like, we can assume that Jaehaerys told his wife, who was his co-monarch, because she flew up to the wall.
Right.
She offered up her own jewels to help the wall build up some of its like castles along the wall. She goes and she charms and beguiles the Stark lords to double the size of the gift, like south of the wall. So she goes up there and then she meets with all the women of Molestown. And there's this really intriguing line in Fire and Blood where she says like the things she learned there would change the Seven Kingdoms forever. So like, what did she learn from the women of Molestown when she went up to the wall? Yeah. And then sort of most famously, she sends this letter back to Jaehaerys where she says, "Thrice I flew Silverwing high above Castle Black, and thrice I tried to take the north beyond the wall. But every time she veered back south again, refused to go. Never before has she refused to take me where I wished to go. I laughed about it when it came down again, so the Black brothers would not realize anything was amiss, but it troubled me then, and it troubles me still." And I feel like this is her being like that dream, that prophecy, man. Yeah. There's something up there, and I don't know what it is.
Remember when everyone thought that line was going to be super crucial for the conclusion of Game of Thrones, and it was was not.
It definitely wasn't. But like the last thing I'll say to sum this up, the last thing I'll say is that famous line about the coin flip of the Targaryens, madness or greatness. I think that comes down to like, how do you react to this news that the world might be ending and it's on you to figure out how to handle it. Mm-hmm. And does that spur you to madness or does it spur you to greatness? This is such a cool thing that George has like dropped into this lore that we've been obsessed with for years. So I think with Viserys, the result is this inaction paralysis fear that you mentioned. Yeah. I think that's what we're watching here.
I love it. I'm excited to track not only episode to episode, but as we reread and revisit the text, like the different things that stand out anew in light of the prophecy. It's like you said last week, it really does necessitate almost a complete reconsideration of the story, which is
everything.
Awesome. What a fun way to make it all feel fresh and new, and not that we needed an excuse to revisit it, but hey, here we have one. Great stuff, George. George, you did it again.
You did it again, George.